Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Hello, Sixers, and it is time for another episode of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 126. Today is January 2nd, 2023, and welcome to the year of Sanderson. It has begun.
Ba-ba-da-ba.
I am Bill, and I am joined, as always, by my Sandersonual co-hosts, Amy and Jordan.
Sanderson, I like that word. It's fun.
All I know is I don't think any of us were talking. I think we could pull Amy's ba-ba-da-ba pretty clean and use that as a sound effect.
As a sound drop, I may have to do that.
Go for it.
Now, to our tonight, of course, we are talking about the 2022 State of the Sanderson. We were going to talk about this a couple weeks ago, but it got delayed. And honestly, I really enjoyed the conversations we had about Koloss Head-Munching Day, Brandon Appreciation, and all that. So if you missed it, y'all should check that out. That was a lot of fun.
And it's going to be oddly appropriate, good lead into the State of the Sanderson.
Absolutely.
I could have known that.
Now, while tonight's live stream, not while tonight's live stream, I'm reading old text. That's just great. So while the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast, remember that. By its very nature, the annual State of the Sanderson post inspires speculation. So even though spoilers about specific books aren't particularly likely, they're possible. It could very well happen. We will, of course, try and keep it in mind, but just realize that could happen.
And we aren't talking Tress.
Yes, we aren't. It's just we're
Book
not
one.
using names just yet.
Even though apparently, like, Amazon has the name
Everyone knows.
out there.
It's
anyway. But book one, we're not.
But-
we're going to try not to talk book one.
Yep.
So.
For those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube after the fact, we do want to remind you that you can come and join us live and chat and interact with us as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/innkeeperstable. Episodes are recorded every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So please join us. We would love to have you be an active part of the discussion. It would be great to have you join us. The show is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. It will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. You can pledge $1 or $2 per episode. It really helps us out. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with other listeners. We've got a great community. We've got a lot of great discussions. You'll also get early access to bonus episodes. You'll get exclusive access to other bonus content and other good stuff that may arise. So, before we move forward, it is time for the Cosmere Thing of the Week. Okay, so this one is a little bit of a personal brag, not because I did anything special, but because I found something that I have been looking for years at this point. So, if y'all remember, a couple years ago, we played the game Mistborn House War with our friend Dylan, who is part of my other podcast about board games. And we played it on stream and had a bunch of fun with it. We played the digital version there, but there is a physical version. Now, the physical version was Kickstarted. And I unfortunately missed the Kickstarter, but I did buy a copy of the game immediately after. One of the things that I missed were these things called penny gems. So what a penny gem is it's just a penny. And then there's this like acrylic or gel type adhesive decal that you put on each side, and it turns that penny into an upgraded component. And so you normally these would be cardboard cutouts, but there are several, I think there's about 80 of them in a pack. And It's just a sheet of these little stickers that you apply to each side of the penny. And it's just a brilliant concept to me because one of the most sought after upgrades for board games is metal coins. And this takes pennies, which are worth literally 1 cent a piece, and turns them into fancy coins.
Plus, they got a real good texture on them, so they stick to the table, don't go
Mhm.
flying everywhere.
Yeah, they're great. They have a nice, they're not heavy, but they feel good in your hands.
Just enough
And
heft.
so it's just a really cool concept. Now, I think that the company, unfortunately, has gone out of business that made them. Not the company, not Crafty Games who made the game, but the company that actually makes penny gems, who they contracted with to make them.
Mhm.
I was fortunate enough to find them. I think that they went through and found a bunch of them in the warehouse as they were clearing stuff out, as they were upgrading their website. And I was able to order some. I have been looking for these for years. These were my
It's your white
grail
whale.
find. Yeah,
Your white
this was my white whale. This is what I had been seeking for board games, and now I find myself lost because
Yes.
What do you
Bill
look for
Bill
now?
wept for there were no more worlds to
There were
conquer.
no more coins to collect.
But yeah, so that's really cool. You should check them out if you can find them anywhere. I don't know. I don't think that they have them available on the site anymore. It was a very limited
Number of them.
Listing?
Re-released.
But yeah, re-released. That's the word. I'm wording awesome.
I got
today.
you. Don't worry.
But yeah, so that's our Cosmere thing of the week, and I'm just super excited about it because yeah, that's fun. Okay, so normally we would go into Sanderson news, but this is all Sanderson news. Some of it old news, but still news. So we're just going to skip right in and dive into the discussion. Okay, first, before we dive in, there is one thing we should probably address. There was one big thing in this post that everybody started talking about, and it's one of the biggest things on people's minds. That is the Audible situation with the Kickstarter. We want to give that fair shrift, but we also want to give the rest of the conversation fair shrift. So we're going to have that at the end of the episode. So even though it was one of the first things in the State of the Sanderson, that's going to be one of the last things we're talking. We're not skipping it. We're just moving it to the end.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. First off, anything just make your head go explodey when you read this?
Mostly the Audible stuff, but
Mostly the Audible stuff. Yeah.
I was like, wow, I hadn't realized it was that bad. But that's for later discussion. So,
yeah.
Updates on minor projects. I kind of forgot that Songs of the Dead was a project because Brandon has so many stinking projects that.
Well, it used to be titled Death by Pizza.
Yeah.
And so I keep forgetting that he still has all these other things, and then like the things I'm tinkering on. Night Brigade, Dragonsteel, Silence Divine, Aether World Series, Mythos, New Planet, though it's still off-world, nickname
like,
pending. It's just like this man.
Yep.
Just
he doesn't stop.
Yeah. So as a heads up, this State of the Sanderson, while long, there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff. There was some good stuff in it though.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. I thought it was some really cool stuff. Secret project updates. Book 1 is now available in digital formats for all backers. Non-backers should have the ability to purchase them on the 10th or 11th of the month, and that'll be the case for each book as it's released. The day 1, the digital versions will be available to all the backers. Day 10 or 11, they'll be available to purchase. So that's kind of the method of things going forward. And then the physical books will be available 3 months later for non-backers.
For non-backers, but backers will get them as soon. Like book 2 should be more on time, but book 1's going to be a little bit late. Is that right?
Yeah,
book 1 is a little bit late.
Issues.
Yeah, they were having some printing issues. It is currently being bound. So that's going to be, they're going to be packing it up over the course of January and possibly a little bit into February, although they're going to try to avoid that if possible.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a difficult position, especially with weather as it's been stateside.
Yeah.
But I don't know. All I know is I was glad to see on the first, right as I was starting my drive back up here to Utah that I had a certain audiobook available. And thus I'm in either the fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look upon it. I've already finished Secret Project 1 as a result because of how prompt they were. On the other side, I am so tired.
Yeah. So speaking of the audiobooks, those are not going to be available on audio. Again, we'll talk about that at the end of the episode for as regards to why, for at least a year. But they are available as DRM-free digital files from the BackerKit website. You can also get them on Spotify and Speechify. For the backers, this is something that I had to look up and I had to dig a little bit to find it. So I just want to let everybody know if you're wondering. If you want to redeem the Spotify code, you need to go to authors-direct.com/Spotify, and that's where you can put in your code. It'll ask for an email address. Make sure to put the email address that is affiliated with your Spotify account, and it'll add it to your Spotify account, and then you can just listen to it there. I've done this. I tried it. It worked for me, so I've tested this out. That said, there are 3 different ways to get it. You can get the digital files, you can redeem a code on Spotify, and you can redeem a code on Speechify, which is unfortunately only available on Apple devices right now. iPhone specifically, iPads should be soon, and then Android devices should be later this year.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that program, so I tried. That's what I did for my
Speechify?
audiobook. Yeah, just to try it out, and it was good. Like,
cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it at all.
Yeah,
but I wasn't either.
Josh and I only got the ebook and the physical book. We didn't get the audio, so I had to figure that out since it was through Josh's email address, and then I had to. Anyway, it was a whole fiasco. But I've got it in ebook form now, so that's good.
Oh, another thing, a lot of people are wondering how to add the ebook to your e-reader. One of the ways that I've noticed, I've learned that you can do that is you should have an email address affiliated, at least with
your Kindle.
With Kindle.
If you're doing a Kindle, yeah.
You should have an email address that'd be email address at kindle.com. If you email the file to your Kindle address, then you can actually go in, you need to confirm that you sent it, and then it will show up as a file on your Kindle. It'll just deliver it as part of your library. That's again what I did to make it work.
So I'm trying to
I don't know that that's the only way to do it, but it is a way to do it.
That's the way to do it for that. But I ended up getting the Play Books, the Google Play Books app, because I couldn't get it to play nice with my Kindle app because it was through Josh's email and whatever else.
Right.
But that worked, and so then I just got the ebook file, and then it just went right through that. So that is another option if you can't get your Kindle to play nice.
Mm-hmm. Now, one more, just as a reminder, one thing that Brandon specifically said. They're giving you 3 different versions of this. Please, please, please do not try to sell or give away your extra codes.
Yeah.
Because for lots of reasons. Just honor system. Don't be a jerk. He gave it to you DRM free. Don't abuse it.
Yeah.
Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Brandon's year.
Yeah,
he got a lot done this year. Just a thing or two.
A smidge, yeah.
Just a touch.
This man.
He revised The Lost Metal, Cytonic, and all 4 of these secret projects.
Yes, very busy.
Which is definitely saying something when you understand how much he openly hates the revision process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brandon loves his first drafts. He's not a big fan of second, third, and especially 4th and 5th drafts.
But he's good at them.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him so good. Like, if you've read some of his earlier drafts, they're not as good. And that's why his books are so good, though, is he polishes them. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that he does it.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of revisions.
The other thing he did was he did some work on Stormlight 5. I think he said is at 20 to 25%.
Yeah, I think that's the last time I remember hearing it was before Christmas and stuff.
And we do have a working title. He says he thinks it's final. Of course, there's always the option for him to change it at some point. But right now he is calling it, drum roll. That was great. Knights of Wind and Truth.
Ta-da!
So as Brandon mentioned, he cheated a little bit for his symmetry, because there is an extra and in there. I say just use an ampersand, and then it's you ignore signs
I just say he's just trying to make sure it's not blasphemous, because if it's completely symmetrical,
that's true. It's very. I like that. I think that's my new stance. He doesn't want to offend
the Voron sensibilities there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like Shallan. It's not fully symmetrical because it's not.
Yeah, we don't want to be ELA here. Come on.
Honestly, some people.
Yeah, I know.
Did y'all have any speculation on what the title would have been before he announced it?
I was like, I'm never going to guess it.
We had the initials because he did say, okay, I do want to try and keep with that.
I assumed it was going to be like Knights of Wind, but
see, I was playing with stuff. The one that I came closest with was Knights of Wisdom's Tower, but it's on. Honestly, I think it would have been cool to do Knights of Honor's Tower since H is kind of a wild card. Because then your Ethereal could kind of be seen as Honor's Tower, but
yeah.
The other one that I thought, in my darker, creepier thoughts was Knights of Whimsy's Tower.
Ooh, that'd be scary. Yeah, we have a listener who's Knights of Whispered Truths was one that I thought of and liked, and I'm like, that's a good one.
Yeah, Libralita in chat put that one up. Knights of Whispered Truths. I really like that one actually.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to guess it.
Mm-hmm.
Book that takes place entirely in a library. The Knights of the Whispered Truth.
Well, and that's the thing is Knights of Wind and Truth. That will be, if it follows the pattern of all the previous ones, that'll be another in-world book.
Yeah, so which makes you wonder who's writing that.
Knights of Wind and Truth about.
I don't know.
A lot of people are talking about how Knights of Wind and Truth kind of works because there's a lot of speculation that this is going to be kind of a buddy cop journey with Kaladin and Zeth.
Yeah.
Also, although Truth is more for the Lightweavers and the Truth Watchers, but
Zeth is the Truthless of Shinovar.
Yeah.
Well, Zeth is no longer Truthless of Shinovar. Yes. And Zeth is also Justice, which is, truth, justice.
And the Shin way.
And the Alethi way.
Oh, and Nightblood's way. It's fine.
Oh, Nightblood's way.
Ooh.
That sounds like a soap opera that I would totally watch.
I know. It'd be great.
Okay, so
Sorry,
then he started.
My brain just went back to the Toothless of Shinovar memes that we had.
So for anybody who is not in our Discord, I started making some plushies.
No, don't explain it.
Don't explain it.
Just do an image search for Toothless of Shinovar.
No,
it's so great.
This is a shill moment. Everyone, you want to see these sweet memes? You need to become a patron so you can join our Discord.
Yes.
I'm tired.
It all started because I made a wolf plushie, and it just went from there. It was great.
Oh man.
So
anyway, Brandon also gave us some updates on primary projects.
Ta-da!
He gave us a lot of updates on primary projects.
Yes, he did. Like I said, he gave us the title for Stormlight 5. Told us the book 5 is 20 to 25% through. Here's one that he said it and apologized, and I said, thank goodness. Words of Radiance, Leatherbound. The Kickstarter for that was going to be in March. It has been delayed to fall of 2023, and my wallet thanks you. Because, oh my gosh. Huh?
That was the whispered truth.
It was not whispered. I shrieked it aloud. Because, my gosh, with this Year of Sanderson plus all of the minis, I'm hurting. I'm hurting, Jordan.
Your wallet looked up and said, "Thank you for saving me."
Oh, there have been a lot of good TikTok ones talking about the poor wallets that are like, can't take it anymore. Anyway.
But his reasoning makes sense also, because he wants to fulfill on the Year of Sanderson before he has another Kickstarter, which I'd say that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, we're all very loyal fans, and we're willing to shell out for, because we know it's going to be good, but it's nice to get something that we've been promised before we spend more.
He currently has 2 Kickstarters that are waiting to fulfill. And so to ask for yet more money from people, I think is fair.
Is hard
to say, I'll hold off.
Well, and it is a complaint from a lot of people. Now, Brandon doesn't have this issue of people kickstarting new projects when you haven't even finished your first. Now, Brandon has a track record of finishing things at a rate that is second to none. So,
or finishing things before he announces them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things I wouldn't begrudge him at all. Unlike, unlike some creators, where I'd be like, maybe you should get the other thing out first. But with Brandon, it's like, I have no concerns.
Right. Yeah. Also, he said that this delay will not delay the actual release of the book. So what are you complaining about?
Yeah,
you're getting the book just as soon. In fact, you'll get it sooner after you give him your money than you would otherwise.
He's training us out of a delayed gratification. It's fine.
This is good things all around. He is training us out of delayed gratification. Yeah, dang it, Brandon, you're part of the problem. So, Skyward and the Cytoverse.
Yes.
He is revising Defiant, which is the last book in the Skyward quadrilogy. And then he's going to sit down with Jancy Patterson to plot out the sequel series. Because of course there's a sequel series.
Do we know if he's writing them or is she writing them, or do we?
I think she's writing. Well, I think they're co-writing the same way that they did the novellas.
The novellas, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be she writes it, he gives a pass, gives it back to her. So I think it'll mostly be her voice, but it'll be him kind of steering the ship.
Fit, yeah.
It's an important step for Brandon because the man has too many ideas, so he's going to have to start outsourcing some of those ideas and continuing to build rapport with good authors. That's going to be the path forward.
And he's doing that a lot with pretty much all of his non-Cosmere stuff at this point.
Yeah, because Reckoners as well.
Yeah, because Reckoners, and it sounds like once he gets to it, the same thing will happen with the Rhythmatist, the Azatlanian, and the Nebraskan, depending on if it's 2 or 3 books.
Yeah,
because I've heard it's going to be just 2, and it was the Azatlanian, but I've also heard that there's possibly a 3rd one called the Nebraskan, which is very amusing to me because
that's very strong.
Yeah,
if you haven't read, what if it's just secretly Brandon's autobiography?
I would buy it.
Yeah,
I really would.
And anyway, so Defiant is going to be what is released at Dragonsteel this year.
Yeah,
because
that's the big Dragonsteel event, which means we're going back to Cytoverse themed. At the 2021 Dragonsteel, they had a mushroom hunt, just like everybody was looking for tiny little hats all over the con.
This year,
so we'll see. We'll see what they're looking for this year.
Probably more mushrooms. Or slugs.
Actually, live slugs.
Oh, I was thinking severed heads of
rats.
Spence's enemies.
Oh man,
that's no red flag.
I may have to make myself a flight suit. We'll see. I may do that for my costume. Be fun.
That'd be awesome. We saw a few Spences this year.
Yeah, there were some Spences, and so I'm like, maybe I'll do like FM or something.
As 2 years ago for obvious reasons.
Yeah, obviously, but there were a few, and one Megan from the Reckoners, which was kind of awesome.
I felt so bad that I didn't recognize her like till the very end, and she pointed out who she was, and I was like, oh, now I see it. My brain didn't go there.
It was funny because I saw her, and my first thought was Emma Swan from Once Upon a Time, and I was like, that has nothing to do with this. That can't be. I know who you are. Which is because I looked back and I remembered in the Reckoners board game, that's actually some of the only official art we have from it, and she matched the drawing. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Mistborn.
And then Mistborn, Era 2 is complete. It is concluded. It is wrapped up. And Era 3 is going to be his primary focus once he finishes Stormlight 5, which is the end of or he said once he finishes Arc 1, which is, the main cap will be Stormlight 5, but I think he's talking about also novellas and stuff that will
like because we're expecting one from about Rock, right? Is at the very least
called Horneater. He's told us that we should be expecting one about him. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah. And so he said over the next year, don't expect really any updates about Mistborn, but After that, expect a whole lot of updates about Mistborn.
Because
that's when
do we know
moving
if he's
into Era 3. What?
Do we know if he's going to write all 3 books like he did with the
That's
first
the plan.
era? Okay. And then
I
just
think
edit
that's what
them
he
as
said
he
the
goes.
plan is.
That's the
Okay.
rumor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, he says don't expect any updates about Mistborn, but speculation, there's stuff in Hollywood right now.
Mm-hmm. We'll be
Could there
getting to
be
that.
movie updates about
We
Mistborn?
don't
We'll talk
know.
about that in a little bit. But I'm just saying, he said don't expect any updates about Mistborn, but I think there might be one hiding for us.
Yeah, last time he
Maybe.
did that, we suddenly ended up with an entirely new era of Mistborn and a secret history book. So he's not exactly a reliable narrator in this regard.
Yeah.
But we love him anyway, and it's fine.
Brandon, I need Secret History Part 2. Need this.
Especially, well, there's so much speculation on what Secret History 2 would be.
Yeah.
Because there's 300 years between Era 1 and Era 2 for stuff to go on.
Knowing Brandon, it'd be it's just like the past Secret History, because it came out and it said it might answer some questions you have. And we're like, all right, let's see how Kelsier did this. And then he proceeded to answer none of the questions we have, but told a great story and only gave us more questions.
I'm just imagining another video where Brandon says, I've been lying to you. Because he's like, I only wrote one secret book this year. But it's Mistborn Secret History, and it's the size of 2 Stormlight books. And
this is how we're getting our 120 secret books.
Thus begins the 1,000-year reign of Sanderson. But no. So yeah, Era 2 is done. Era 3 is upcoming. That will be the 1980s Cold War spy era, which everyone's excited about.
And there's like
I still think one of my favorite. Yeah, I still think one of my favorite costumes at Dragonsteel was there was a lady dressed as a 1980s Mistborn.
Yeah, I need
with the neon clothes and it was amazing.
I need to put up pictures because she was in a group picture I was in, so it was awesome. Yeah? Mm-hmm. When we did the Mistborn pictures,
when you were Vin,
when I was Vin,
was that Vin
yep.
or were you I was Vin or Marasi for the? Okay,
no, I was Vin. I didn't go to the group thing when I was Marasi.
Okay,
so.
Marasi. Sorry, I keep getting that wrong.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna bop back and forth between getting it right and wrong anyway. So it's fine.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to secondary projects. Alcatraz. This is one that we haven't really talked about on the show. We haven't had an episode about any of the Alcatraz books, even though there are now 6 of them.
Yeah.
And that series is now complete. It is wrapped up. It is tied up. Neat little bow. It's done. Brandon can rest and say, hey, I finished a series. There's not many of those that he's finished yet.
Nope.
We've got 2 Mistborn eras. Yeah, but we still have at least 2, possibly 3 more Mistborn eras coming up.
And we love it.
Mistborn isn't done, even though the 2 eras are done. He's finished Reckoners. He's finished Legion. That's about it. Yeah. And now he's finished Alcatraz. And so, if you haven't read Alcatraz, it's fun, goofy, ridiculousness.
Easy reading. Yeah.
Is Brand.
Go ahead.
This is Brandon when he stayed up after midnight, or what would be after midnight for most people, because he's always up after midnight. He's weaponized his insomnia.
He's always up after midnight.
This is what Brandon is like when he stays up past noon. So but yeah, so it's just a lot of fun, a lot of goofy, silly humor, slapstick wordplay. There's even some visual humor in the books.
Yeah.
Chapter headings are ridiculous. He started numbering chapters weird at one point. I don't want to spoil any of it for you, so just go check it out. I personally think it's better to read these ones physically. Even if it's the ebook, that's fine, just because there are a few visual gags in there with the way it shows up. But that's up to you. I also am less impressed with the audiobook, although I have friends who love the audiobook, so I can't speak to that too much. But lots of fun.
Yeah, and it got my son to actually like reading more, so that's kind of nice.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we need to get this.
I haven't read the 6th book.
So did you read that with him, or did he read that?
So we started reading the first one with him, and then we got sidetracked, and now he is reading. He's in book 3 now by himself.
Okay, and what grade is he in?
He's in second.
Okay, because I'm trying
And
to figure out.
He's a really
when I can
good reader
introduce
for
these
his
to my
grade,
nephews.
but he can read them no problem.
Yeah. So the Reckoners and the Arithmetists and stuff like that, those are YA. This is a step
Middle grade.
earlier than that. This is what they call middle grade.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for a bit younger readers. They're shorter. They read really fast. I think I read each of them in less than a day. I think I read 2 of them in one day once. So they're very quick reads, but lots of fun. Goofy, silly humor. Okay, so next one is Dark One.
Yep.
Did either of y'all read the graphic novel for Dark One?
I do. I own the graphic novel, yes.
Did you read it?
I did. Yes.
Okay. I started reading it. I was in a weird emotional spot at the time, and so I decided to set it aside, but I do want to go back and read it.
It's very
what
much,
I read was really cool.
It's very much dark. It's darker than a lot of his other stuff.
Yes.
But I mean, it's still not like as dark as it could go. It's mostly, it feels trippy in that the protagonist is starting to doubt some things about his perception a little bit.
Yeah. It's a really cool concept, though. It's basically Harry Potter, except instead of being the chosen one, it's the prophesied villain.
Yeah. And there's fantasy
it's this
as
kid
well
who finds out he's
world.
the prophesied villain.
Yeah, and he's like, what?
Yeah, and it's also sort of it's an isekai concept, a portal. Story
going to another world. Yep.
But Dark One Forgotten is based on it. It's something he and Dan have been working on, and I love this concept because it's going to be a fake true crime podcast.
But it's going to be in an audio, so it's going to be.
I love this idea.
It is of all the things announced in this, it's the one I'm most excited for because it sounds like it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, like this. I don't know that you guys probably haven't listened to, but there's one, like the one horror podcast I've listened to was Magnus Archives, and it's like audio recordings that are in world, and like it kind of makes me think of this. This is very different because that one's more like Cthulhu, and this one is Brandon Dark One. Anyway, but like that's kind of
all I know is I've been trying to sneak my mom, trying to get her to read Brandon, and it's just been an uphill battle. So I think I'm going to try and see if I can, sneak this one in with Dark One. See if I can get her to do that because she listens to all sorts of true crimes podcasts. So
yeah.
I'm sort of seeing this as My Favorite Murder meets Welcome to Night Vale. If y'all are familiar with either of those.
I've heard the names, but I have not actually listened to them.
Okay. He's also working on a prose version of the original outline for Dark One. So if he obviously has several readers who shy away from the graphic novels.
Yeah.
Now he said that this is the original outline he had, so it's going to go off in a different direction from the graphic novels. But there's also a second graphic novel in the works.
Okay.
So, other Cosmere novels, of course, there are 3 more secret books.
Yes.
Coming that are coming, and Mistborn Era 1 is getting released with new covers. It's interesting to me. Have y'all seen have y'all followed the progression of the American covers for?
Well, there were the original ones that are like oil paintings.
The original hardback ones,
which is the ones that I have.
Painting.
Yeah, and then there's the really minimalistic ones, just the pure white ones.
And then between that, there were ones that had
like a random.
They were all pictures of Vin. They were actually really good pictures of Vin. That's the minimalistic ones that you're thinking, that Jordan was mentioning.
All right.
But then there were some that were really cool pictures of Vin.
Second one with the Vin pictures.
It's really good. Then of course there's the original paperback version, which was absolutely awful. Vin looks like what I would almost what I would picture an artist, like a Renaissance or not Renaissance, but madrigal artist's rendition of Hoyd would look like. And then there's a random Grim Reaper in the background.
They're trying to make it look like Harry Potter.
Well, and then there's a random Grim Reaper in the background.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
but I'm not sure how I feel about these new pictures. I think my favorite are the original hardback, but well, honestly, some of the foreign editions are amazing.
Some of the foreign ones are super pretty. Like the UK ones are, they're so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I like the new covers from what I've seen of them, but like it's just a pretty art style.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'll be buying them, but they're very pretty.
Yeah, they're okay. They're not my favorite, but I don't hate them. Let's see. Elantris, Warbreaker, and Rhythmatist all are on hold until Stormlight 5 is done.
Just
which is sad, but understandable.
I finally found the page that's just the Mistborn covers.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize the sheer volume of foreign covers in different
there's
art.
A ton of them.
Oh, they're so pretty.
I thought there were a lot. I was off by like a factor of 3. And the Japanese ones look like a manga.
Because I mean, might as well.
I'm all in on this. Give me the Mistborn manga. I'll do that.
That's one thing that's really cool about the Leatherbounds is that a lot of the foreign art is
inside them. Yeah,
inside of those. But yeah. So there's new covers coming out, and then again, Elantris, Warbreaker, and the Rhythmatist, all of these are just basically on hold until Stormlight 5 is done, which I think everybody's kind of excited about, even though we love those other books and want more of them.
We want Stormlight 5.
Stormlight 5 is kind of something that's been anticipated for 10 years. So, the Reckoners, Stephen Bowles, who had the table across from us at Dragonsteel 2021, really nice guy.
Yeah.
He wrote Lux. Brandon is now asking for feedback. Did you like the book? Do you want more? Let him know. Just however you can, interacting with, send it through his social media, send it through the forms on his website, whatever you want. Just let him know, hey, I want more, because I thought it was pretty cool.
Because I like.
We did an episode on it. They can go check that out. Okay. Updates on minor projects. Brandon did a wonderful pun about the Songs of the Dead being in limbo, because that's one of my favorite bad puns that he's made. It made me grin.
It's good.
And it was a good pun.
It was a good bad pun.
Mm-hmm.
The original, which is one that an audiobook only thing that he did with Mary Robinette Kowal.
Did you guys listen to that one?
I did. It was really cool.
It was so good.
It was really
It's worth it. It's good.
Mm-hmm. But there is an ebook version of that in the works for people who don't like listening to the audiobooks, which is cool, I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like there's a physical edition coming out anytime soon, but if you want to read it, there it is.
There's the ebook, yep.
And the audiobook version of it is actually pretty good too. Like, it's a really good performance. Definitely check it out.
The White Sand is interesting.
White Sand. Okay, first off,
yes,
this is something I've been noticing a lot, so I just need to clarify. White Sand, singular, no S. White Sand, not White Sands.
That's a place, isn't it?
White Sands is the name of an inn in the Anne of Green Gables books.
Oh, really? I feel like there's like a vacation area called that
crossover.
too.
That's an interesting.
Yeah, I would never expect. Maybe there's a portal into Prince Edward Island. Who knows?
Could be.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't know that there was a singularity, or not a singularity, a perpendicularity there. But hey, whatever. But no. There is a lot of news on this. Of course, the omnibus is coming. We've been getting regular updates on this. If you actually backed the crowdfunding for this,
and they're like, we promise it's coming.
Every 2 or 3 days, we're getting updates, and I'm like, okay, I trust you. I don't need an update anymore. Just work on getting it to me, and then send it to me. I'm excited to get it.
It'll be fine.
The paperback editions have been shipping out. I've actually been seeing people posting on Reddit and other places that they're getting them. So that is happening. The hardcovers and the fancy slipcover editions that he's working on, those are still in production. We're still waiting on those.
Yeah, because the slipcovers are getting made somewhere else, and so they have to like get them to the people who have the books, and then all the other things.
But here's the part that
is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the part that I loved, though. He said, I am more and more likely to put out a heavily revised prose version of the novel because it is Cosmere canon and it is important. And, especially after the Lost Metal.
Mm-hmm.
If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about.
No, like that's interesting. Just because, I mean, look, we all know the original version of White Sand that had all sorts of issues.
It wasn't bad, but
I think
it
I would
wasn't
argue
up
the
to
first one was bad.
But the first one was the first book he ever wrote. I'm
Yeah.
talking about his
No.
8th book.
No, I mean
version.
the comic book.
I'm talking about the book.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the so the first one was the first book he ever wrote. Then
Yeah.
it was I think it was the 8th book. I can never remember exactly. I think it was the 8th book he wrote. Maybe
Yeah,
7th.
I'm referring just to the comic
know.
books themselves. The
I
first
know.
one was just bad.
I know, but anyway, I've read the prose version. It wasn't as engaging, but it was still interesting. But yeah, the graphic novels, they had some issues. They got each volume got better as it went along.
Yeah, like it was like halfway through 2, they got another artist, and I was like, oh, it's a lot cleaner and clearer to see things, and they're like, I know we shouldn't expect every character in a comic to be attractive, but I tend to like it better when they're more attractive, and they got more attractive in the second and third book.
Are you saying the Hollywood formula of putting attractive people on a screen is there for a reason? Maybe that people like.
Amy wants the unattractive people to be Hollywood homely. So.
That is not what I said.
Well, but it's not just that the graphic novels were rough, though.
For you.
Yeah.
Because graphic novel just isn't as approachable of a medium for a lot of people. There are people who read graphic novels all the time. There are people for whom it's easier, but there are other people who just shy away from it in general.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to get used to like following the order that you go in, and then it's even worse if you read manga and then you read graphic novels, because manga usually does it from right to left, and then everywhere else you do it left to right, and it's just you have to like retrain your brain on how to do it in the right order.
Brandon's way of telling stories,
exactly.
It's more prose.
I'm not sitting here saying that it can't work in this visual format. I'm more thinking a Cosmere book with the type of reveals it's trying to go for. I don't think those will work as well as his prose does, and so I like things more like the Dark One, where it's built from the ground up to be this thing.
Right, that makes sense.
Because this is it's kind of weird because we never got White Sand in prose form and in an official manner. This is like an adaptation without ever getting the source material.
Well, the other thing is Brandon's strength, really is his dialogue and his storytelling. All of that is cut out in a graphic novel. All of his descriptions, all of his, like the dialogue, even for a graphic novel, even though there's dialogue there, it tends to be compact.
Because you're trying to fit it in the little bubbles, yeah.
Yeah, he believes in what I think it's called Orwellian writing style, where it's supposed to be very unintrusive prose.
And so it's hard for White Sand. White Sand, of all of his books, is probably one of the best picks for a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Mistborn, of course, would be a great one too. But White Sand is a very visual thing. You have all of this sand swirling around and big epic moments and stuff like that. And so it makes sense in a graphic novel format. But it loses something. And so I'm so glad that possibly he hasn't confirmed it, but he's saying he's more and more likely to. I would love to see this in prose.
Yeah.
In an official capacity. And written by a more seasoned Brandon.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've looked at Way of Kings Prime versus Way of Kings, much more polished, better writer. It's a better book. And I want that from White Sand.
I still need to read Prime.
Especially because Chris is becoming much more of an important character. Taldane is becoming much more of an important world.
Yeah, and I think they said they're adding like 30 pages or something to the beginning of it to like explain more things. Which that would
there's
be
a
good.
lot more. Well, and the text has been revamped and the art has been revamped to the point where Isaac's name is now on the cover of the book.
Yeah.
So he's gone in hard on this.
Yeah.
To the point where Brandon's like, you deserve a credit on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this changes. This is going to be pretty interesting because
I'm very interested to see where this goes.
We haven't seen Brandon revise stuff as much. go back and try and fix some mistakes. And so this will be a first one where it's a big one because they were learning a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and he, especially at the beginning, he had less involvement. He gave him stuff and said, "You do your thing." And I think that he, with the pros version, he is going to step in and say, "Okay, I'm steering the boat now."
Yeah.
That was the second time I made the steering the boat metaphor. What is up?
You just like boats.
I mean, there are
Yeah,
boats in
maybe.
White Sand, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legion.
yes.
So I think this is a cool announcement. He's coming out with a new edition of Legion, and it actually says mystery on the side because Brandon is not known as a mystery author.
Yep.
And honestly, it probably would have been published as mystery had it not been written by him. And so this kind of opens a few doors for him with this series.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Lets him be in a different part of the store.
Mm-hmm. Have y'all read these?
Yes, yeah. I think I'm finally caught up
all
on
three
those.
of them.
Yeah. Yes, I haven't read the Death and
You did read the third
Faxes,
one,
but I think I've read the third one. Yeah.
Right. The third one is. I'm talking about the main trilogy. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty cool. Also, fun announcement. We're getting unnamed Dan and Isaac Cosmere novels. I am so excited about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they talk about those a little bit in their own individual sections. So we'll talk more details on that a little bit later. He said that he's creating a new slot for it in the state of the Sanderson, but there's not much to report on yet. So it's there, but yeah. And then he also said he's tinkering with some stuff. He's got Night Brigade, which is the Threnody novel. He's got Dragonsteel, which is Hoyd's origin series. He's got Silence Divine, which is the Ashen series, which I believe is the disease-based magic.
I think so, yeah.
From what we've heard. He's got a series from the Aether World, where which originally was Aether of Night, but it sounds like it's been completely revamped. Based on the interactions that we got with, is it Two Soul or Twin Soul?
Twin Soul.
Twin Soul. I thought it was Twin Soul.
And then a Mythos series, which all we've gotten from that is a very brief mention in the epilogue of The Last Metal. Yeah. Lost Metal, which we didn't even talk about in our Lost Metal epilogue discussion.
All we know is that Kelsier's considering them a potential ally.
Mm-hmm. So we need to know. We need to know all the things.
Yeah, Brandon, tell me how they become Kelsier's friends, because I want everyone to be friends with Kelsier.
The other thing that Brandon has said is that Mythos is what other planets call it, but that's not the official name of the planet. So.
Could be.
Yeah. Okay, guys, time for speculation. We got Hollywood and video game news. Well, nothing to see here. Move along. These aren't the
droids you're looking for.
So the one thing of this, a lot of people disappointed we didn't get any news on this front. What I loved Brandon saying is, guys, if I had something to announce on this, I would have said it at Dragonsteel.
Exactly.
To which I was talking to some people who were like, I don't know if I'm going to the next Dragonsteel.
Go to Dragonsteel.
Because it's not a Cosmere novel. I'm not that interested in the Sideovers. And I was like, counterpoint, this is where he's going to make that announcement.
Yeah. If he does. Yeah. And I mean, come buy my dice. Come say hi to us. See all the cool costumes. I'm sure there will be non-Sideovers panels. Because
there will. And I was selling them on it. But I think this is the best argument for it for people who are hesitating.
Yes, that is true.
Side note, can we have an unofficial title for Dragonsteel? Can we call it Brandon SanderCon?
I've been wanting to call it that, but I know Brandon doesn't want it to be about him.
He wants, I think I remember I was talking, I heard Octavia, she's the social media person. And she was like, oh, he really likes Dragonsteel Expo or something like that, but they haven't pinned it down beyond Dragonsteel.
I was going to say, because it sounds weird calling it Dragonsteel, because Dragonsteel is the company.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, we need
Con or Expo or something.
We need an extension.
There's one thing I want to point out about this that I noticed. Last year, this section was called film, video game, and television news, but now it's just Hollywood and video game news.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. Film and television kind of go into that.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that he now lumps it together, especially with what he's talked about in the past about how he views like Mistborn as like a movie, then a series, then a movie. Because he's like, I don't think the second book works as a film because of political intrigue.
I think if he does that, he is really going to mess up his viewership. It's going to be very unappealing. I think it'll hurt it because, well, I mean, just look at the MCU, particularly in the early days when they had Daredevil, when they did the Netflix series, and when they did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there just was not a lot of overlap in the viewers.
Yeah, I think that was more due to the fact that they did a bad job of actually overlapping things, but that's a completely different discussion.
I don't know that that's the case though. I think there's just
it's also the problem of like most of those were on Netflix, I believe. The series,
the Netflix,
and not everybody
Agents
had those.
wasn't.
Yeah. It wasn't.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on network TV.
Yeah, but eventually they decanonized all of them. Which sucks because Daredevil is.
But that's what I'm saying is. They decanonized those things, and I think it's largely because there wasn't. But a lot of the viewers missed out on part of it.
Yeah,
that's
because people don't want to. People don't want to bounce back and forth between. The same thing happened with. Okay, I don't want to dive into a whole can of worms here, but I'll just say Blizzard and they have side novels. People don't want to go to the side novels; they wanted to get all the story in game. It's a lot of people just want to stick with one.
Medium
type of media to get one contiguous storyline.
Yeah,
that's my personal thought.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe he could just do mini series,
not a deal breaker,
like what BBC does.
Yeah, I think it'd be fine, but it's an entirely different thing. All I know is Dragonsteel. Expecting something, Brandon.
Oh yeah. We're really so okay. Speculate. What do we think it is?
I'm guessing it's probably Mistborn because that's the one that.
I think that'll be the first thing he does.
Yeah, because I mean, I think he'd be hesitant to do Stormlight yet because it's gonna be so big, and I think he and his people have probably noticed how it did not go well for. Oh
Game of
goodness!
Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. I was blanking on the name. I was like
Game
the other
of Thrones,
dragon movie.
Countless anime shows where they catch up to
they
the
don't
manga.
know. Yeah, they don't have the ending yet, and so they put random filler or just guess, and they get it horribly wrong, and I don't think he wants that for it. So
I agree with you. Playing devil's advocate, he's about to finish the first arc of Stormlight, and then there's a 15-20 year gap. 10-15-20 year gap. Which means if they start now, they'll have time to catch up.
Oh man, I don't know.
Again, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do Stormlight yet, but
I still just want animation for Stormlight. That's just still.
But I don't think he's going to go for it.
Actually, I'm going to say my unpopular opinion right now, and if you hate what I'm saying, feel free to email us but it's true. I just don't want an adaptation. I don't think anybody can do justice to it. I've been so disappointed with a lot of adaptations in the past 10, 20 years. Like, unless you get something like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, I don't think it will be something I want. So that's my personal opinion. I understand if you want it, and you're welcome to disagree with me, but I'm pretty firm on that.
I just need Kelsier vs. Steel Inquisitor. If I can get that, I don't care what else comes out.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that.
If you look around YouTube enough, you can find people who've animated clips here and there of different scenes. So
yeah, that's all I need. Like literally, they could be like, it's a 3-hour film. It's like, okay, but we all know I'm here for one thing.
They say a 3-hour film, but I mean, things went wrong on Gilligan's Island in 3 hours. So you never.
And 3-hour movies are coming out all the time.
Like if you don't do that fight scene correct, I'm just gonna be like, dead movie series.
Also, Kaladin versus Zeth.
Yeah,
I want it.
Well, that was already in video game form. Remember?
And again, I want the I want a backdrop of Thunderstruck going while they're fighting.
Sorry, I love that song.
Okay. Then Soulburner. So this is something that showed up over the past several State of the Sandersons. He's mentioned Soulburner and been very vague about it. It is now out in a completely different format than anybody ever expected because it's a video game.
Yep.
That is now known as Moonbreaker. Have y'all listened to the audio dramas?
I have not. I have not looked at any of this stuff.
They are so good. They are so much fun. Jordan, you mentioned you were considering.
I was going to, and then I got distracted and sort of wandered off. So that's still on my to-do list.
So you didn't listen to it when you drove
and literally
home?
Today, as I was driving, because I only had 2 hours left on the first secret project, and so I still had time. Like, there was something else I wanted to listen to. What was it? Like, I just no, can't think of it. Can't. What? No,
it'll come
I'm
to me
caught
later.
up on
It'll be
Brandon
fine.
stuff. Not sure what that could be.
That's funny because you didn't listen to it earlier because you were saving it for this drive.
Yeah, I know, right? The point is, I am tired and I'm not firing on all cylinders, and I just want a cookie.
Okay.
Oh man. But yeah, if you haven't listened to them, they are so much fun. So Moonbreaker is it's a competitive video game. It's strictly multiplayer right now.
Just as far as feel goes, the gameplay is Warhammer mixed with Hearthstone, and the tone feels very Firefly-esque.
The tone feels League of Legends to me.
Yeah, but the Firefly sort of aesthetic with
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out though. It's also, the tone also feels a little bit Overwatch.
That's another good comparison.
Now, when I say tone, I am not talking about the community, because it's a very competitive game and there can be some toxicity in there. I am saying it feels like the tone in the storytelling. It's definitely worth checking out because you have just this huge cast of characters and each of them has their own story. Each of them is the hero of their own story type thing. Go check it out. They're audio dramas that were written by Dan Wells and they're so much fun. Because this is kind of the very first collaboration that we have seen from Brandon, and like full collaboration.
Yeah.
Well, other than Dark One.
Right, but I'm talking about like full collab, because Dark One is also a weird
other thing,
story of its own.
Yeah. We should probably power through the
news from
Dragonsteel. The news from Dragonsteel. There's just a little bit to hit on. So, because I love that he gave each of the members of his team, or each of the departments on Team Dragonsteel, an opportunity to sort of jump in and highlight. We're going to kind of cruise through it just because there's a lot of it, and it's something that, and it's really something that you can read through on your own. Definitely worth checking out, though. We hear from Queen Emily Sanderson. We hear from Peter Alstrom of the editorial department, talking about new people that have come on. We have merchandise and events from Kara Stewart, who we absolutely adore. We have Matt Hatch, because Brandon's got an HR department, and what other authors have an HR team?
Yeah,
not a lot.
We've got Matt Horn from the publicity and marketing department. He's the voice behind the camera that you always hear on Brandon's live streams. Also Brandon's brother-in-law, I believe, married to Brandon's sister, who is heading the Lightweaver Foundation, which you all should definitely check out because it's the charitable organization that Brandon and Emily have created, and
they make the cool ornaments and do stuff.
If you go to Dragonsteel, they always have a booth set up. They've done the ornaments the past 2 years.
Yes,
yeah, if you look at like my Christmas or Happy Holidays post or whatever, I have the 3 ornaments that have been released up in that one.
Yep.
So you can see them.
Yep. My tree is still up and it has all 3 ornaments on it. It has very few other ornaments on it, but all 3 of those are definitely on there. Then we hear from Dan Wells, who we adore and he's come on the show and he's a lot of fun. Definitely check out that episode. We hear from Isaac Stewart, who was our very first Dragonsteel interview, and we love Isaac. He is seriously one of my favorite people to talk to. I just every time I've chatted with him,
we've had 3 of the people on the show.
That's true.
And one of these days, we're going to catch them all.
I'm hoping to get more. But yeah. And the other thing that Isaac mentioned is that there's going to be an Ars Arcanum in the new
White Sand
omnibus, which I love the Ars Arcanum, and we don't have one for White Sand yet. We don't have one for Taldane's magic system, so
that'll be nice.
Yeah. And then, of course, they talk about all the new people who've joined their team. Definitely go through, read. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I highly recommend going through and checking that out. And then Brandon goes through his projected projects. He's got all of the secret projects that are coming up. He has the Deviant release at the end of this year. He has Stormlight 5 and Dragonsteel 2024 at the end of next year. And then he's also working with Jancy Patterson on the Skyward sequel series, and of course the Dark One print release coming up sometime.
Yep.
That was a lot of stuff.
It was.
Yep.
And then there was Audible.
Should we talk about the Audible in the room?
For the record, I was 50-50 on whether you were going to make that joke.
Well, you were half right.
Yeah.
It's true.
So, have you guys used Audible much?
I have a huge Audible library, but I have been wondering about this kind of thing because I've been hearing Audible is hard to work with for their, especially the smaller authors. I have a couple of friends who are independent authors who've released through them, and it is kind of a rough situation.
Yeah, let's
give a brief sort of overview of what's going on. So Brandon has decided with the secret projects that they are not going to be released. The audiobooks are not going to be released on Audible for at least a year, possibly longer. He said specifically, I do not want to go to war with Audible. I like the people that I work with.
I have it pulled up. Do you want me to just read it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. The books will not be on Audible for the foreseeable future. This is a dangerous move on my part. I don't want to make an enemy of Amazon, who owns Audible. I like the people at Audible. I had several meetings with them this year, but Audible has grown to a place where it's very bad for authors. It's a good company doing bad things, which that's just a pretty strong statement.
It's a blunt statement, but it's also a very it's the way that you'd call out a friend.
Yeah. Again, this is dangerous to say, and I don't want to make anyone feel guilty. I have an Audible account and a subscription. It's how my dyslexic son reads most of books he reads. Audible did some great things for books, notably spearheading the audio revolution, which brought audiobooks down to a reasonable price. I like that part a lot. However, they treat authors very poorly, particularly indie authors. The deal Audible demands of them is unconscionable, and I'm hoping that providing market forces and talking about the issue with the megaphone will encourage change in a positive direction. Unconscionable is a pretty strong word.
Very strong words. And Brandon is being intentionally strong-worded here.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't want to go to war. I will say he has rallied the troops.
Yeah.
Because Brandon has a very big audience.
And I've seen
he just doubled the best Kickstarter ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of comments from indie authors going, thank you, Brandon. We needed someone who could stand up and be louder than us.
Well, and that's the thing is right now, Brandon has the biggest megaphone on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In this space.
Yeah. Well, and look, I assumed like Amazon started off as a book company. Then they kicked off sort of the ebook revolution, and they bought Audible, and like that's a lot of market power in one spot. So I had always assumed they would probably bring, their forces to bear. I didn't realize how strong those forces were being brought to bear. Because as Brandon points out, most digital products, it's 70% to the creator. Audible's doing 40%. So that is considerably less for a completely digital product.
That's almost half. And he goes on to say, if they don't sign an exclusive deal with Audible, then it's down to 25%.
Which is just
and then Daniel Green recently posted a video talking.
He did a great one. People should check it out if they.
I still need to watch it. I haven't watched it yet.
Well, so I decided to go through the comments on that, and I found an interesting one that makes it even worse. It was someone who's an indie author just talking about how it's even worse because if for smaller authors, you pay a percentage out to whoever's doing your ebook reading. So it's
Mhm.
actually more like 20% to you, 20% to them, because you can't afford the
Ooh.
flat rate.
Right.
Mm.
And so it's just, and then you know, on top of it, you also have the ebook stuff that they want you to go exclusive on. And it's just that, like,
It's tough.
yeah, it's tough because
And
they
the
control so much of the market, and we've kind of made it this way. Because
Mhm.
I look, I'm the guy who does things almost exclusively through audiobooks. I have a huge Audible library,
Mhm.
and it was convenient, and so it was nice to have everything all in one place.
Mhm.
As blunt as Brandon was, though, I do think he's doing this in a very diplomatic way. I think he realizes that Brandon is first off a peacemaker. He
Yeah,
doesn't like
he
to
wants to unite instead of divide.
The divide,
exactly. He is the bondsmith. But I think that he's going about this in a very interesting way because again, he said he's not going to war with Audible, but what he wants is he wants to set up, like, promote other alternatives. Because when one group just keeps getting more and more power, it starts to get scary. Like, even good people wielding that power corrupts absolutely.
Yep.
Mm.
And so rather than trying to pull down Audible, though, what he's trying to do is build up alternatives.
Yeah.
I've always thought that competition is healthy
Oh, yeah.
for
Yeah.
you know, like, market competition is healthy. You start to stagnate when you don't have it. And this is kind of what Brandon's doing is he's trying to light a fire under Audible, saying, you
Yeah.
can't keep doing this. This is not going to work.
Well,
Because he said his fear is that Audible is going to go in, burn the whole thing out, and then disappear.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, and
And he wants Audible to stick around.
yeah, because they have been very good for audiobooks.
They've got a great infrastructure, and it makes it very convenient for listeners.
Mhm.
But he doesn't want them to be the only option.
Yeah,
And
they don't. They
Brandon's
shouldn't be a
taken
monopoly.
he's taken
Mhm.
on a huge financial hit to do this.
Yeah. Well, he expressed, and I've, of course there are people out there who are saying, oh, he's just doing this to get attention. He's raising a bunch of fuss. What he did with Speechify, I think, is a good. It's a perfect show of, okay, I am putting my money where my mouth is, literally, because Speechify was willing to give him 100% of the proceeds. 100%. That's enormous.
Yeah.
Thinking this is good because this is a promotion for us. This is free publicity to an enormous audience.
Yeah.
Of our key demographic. Brandon said, can you give that deal to all the other authors? And they said, no, we can't. He said, we could probably offer 70%. And Brandon said, I will take that deal.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
Amazon wouldn't be doing this if if we hadn't let them, get this type of power.
If
And
there were
so
better alternatives that were easy to
Yeah.
use for the majority of the people. Yeah.
And that's the thing that this is the thing. This is why I really like it. So many complete people complain about a problem and be like, "Look, these people over here are bad for this reason." And it's like, "Yeah, you're right. What can you do about it?" And most people won't take that step out and take that risk. And Brandon is
Mhm.
using his his empire that he has set up and said, all right, let's try and fix this, and let's try
Mhm.
and I'm not over here trying to tear everything else down. I'm trying to build the market into a more healthy place, just as he's tried to make writing a more healthy place by posting his his lectures and
Mhm.
getting
And
more
writing
young
excuses and
authors
everything
out
else, yeah.
there. And so this is what I love about Brandon is that he's just such a big picture guy.
Mhm.
And I like that he's thinking about not just himself, he's thinking about the next generation of authors and trying to
Yeah.
make sure that the book ecosystem is better for them than it was for him.
Well, Brandon has
Yeah.
said, when he wrote Elantris, he said that Raoden was kind of his self-insert character. Raiden is an optimist. Raiden is stepping in, fighting the battle, trying to build things up, trying to make things better. He's trying to take a bad situation, and rather than destroy his opponents, he's trying to build up other people. He's trying to build up the defenses rather than
destroy,
go on the offensive and destroy everyone around him. Which has more lasting effects, I think. And I just love that he's doing this. He's getting down in the trenches.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like it got me to act because I didn't know how bad it was. And I've been sitting on, 12 Audible credits for a while now because I just already had so much. So I finally just spent all of them and closed my account so that, I can be like, okay, yeah, I'll help. And I put down the reason. It's like, I didn't know how, how big of poopy butts you guys were being. So,
and that's fair. Now, again, Brandon has said he is not trying to get people to drop Audible.
Yeah.
But he's
trying
to treat them
build
better,
up options so that Audible has to compete.
Yeah. No, and Brandon's not trying to go to war with Amazon. That's his exact quote. And it's like, it is true. He's trying to make them act better. But there's no reason
he's trying to light a fire under.
Yeah. Well, it's good. They have no reason to act better if we, the consumer, don't give them a reason to act better.
Yeah.
It's like a kid who's misbehaving. If you keep giving them the cookie, they're why would they ever start behaving?
Yeah, if there's no actual consequence for their bad action, then the action doesn't matter. There's no consequence to it.
But again, Brandon said he has an account. That's not saying, so he's not saying cancel your account. He's not saying keep your account. He's just giving you information and saying act on your own conscience.
Yeah. Well, 'cause that was the other good thing about reading through the comments on Daniel Green's video, is because you saw some of the authors who were like, yeah, I have to do it through Audible because I literally just don't have a choice. And it's like, I want to do it some other way. And it's like, this isn't a condemnation of people who are stuck for market forces reasons to do things. Because, the alternative is, we somehow crush it and then we don't have, there's nothing there to take its place. And so the better solution is to make it so that there's enough competition that Audible says, okay.
We'll have to treat you fairly.
Here. Because otherwise
suddenly they don't have the option. Suddenly they can't just sit there and say, where else are you going to go?
It's just us or nothing. The other, I don't remember all the details, but I have heard apparently that if you are reading on like Amazon, the ebooks, the unlimited stuff, if you read it and then like you return books, it costs the author money because they have to pay back.
That's been closed.
Is that been fixed? Okay.
Yeah, it took them way longer than it should have, but mega corporations are Leviathan.
Because that sounded horrible.
They're not exactly nimble.
They move very slowly. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know that that's been fixed.
Yeah,
but again, I just want to make it clear: this is not Brandon going to war with Amazon. This is Brandon calling at Amazon to account and saying, "Hey, this is something that needs to be fixed." To quote Final Fantasy XIV, one of the most famous lines in it: "Such devastation, this was not my intention." Brandon is not trying to bring down a giant. He's just trying to get that giant to behave better.
Well, and
it's more like he's trying to tame a giant than destroy it.
Well, but here's the other thing that I like about it is just the fact that he's bringing it up. 'Cause I think a lot of authors are scared to get on Amazon's bad side because they do control much of the literature market space. And you don't want, like, you're just like, well, if I, do this, are they going to start down ranking, them in the charts or whatever? Because it would bring up a conflict of interest. But one author standing up, it's you got to get one person someone's got to start. And at the very minimum, so many people I've heard who've been talking about this are just like, I had no clue. Like, I had like literally and this has been going on for a while, but the only people talking about it are these small indie people who don't have a huge following and frankly don't have the business experience to know fully how bad it is, because they can't compare it to the opportunities someone like a Brandon gets.
Well,
and even if they do, they may not have another better venue to take it to.
Even the normal, like some of the more popular mainstream authors can't really step up and say this, because this is
Their
the
entire
heart
role.
of their business.
Yeah.
Brandon has just gone through the reason he even did this Kickstarter was to show that there are alternatives to traditional publishing. He's not leaving, again, he's not leaving traditional publishing, but he wants it to be shown that there are, like, it was proof of concept. He wants it to be visible that there are other alternatives.
But that was
other people couldn't do this, but Brandon has an infrastructure in place that
to handle it. Yeah.
Even if Amazon pulled out, Brandon's following has momentum now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well,
Brandon has the momentum to keep going.
That's the
he
other
has an
thing.
infrastructure. He has contacts. He can actually publish his own books.
Yeah, that was the other thing he was calling out. Wasn't just Amazon and Audible. He was also kind of calling out the publishers, because he talks about here. Sure, there are other companies that can buy your book, but they all just list on Audible and then take a percentage on top of what Audible's taking. Apple, their books come in a large part from Audible. Recorded Books, they're an awesome company whom I love, but their biggest market is Audible. Macmillan, my own publisher, they just turn around and put the books on Audible. And that's part of why he did the secret project, because he couldn't go to even his own publishers, because they have previous deals already locked in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if you listen to a book on Audible, lots of times the beginnings are Macmillan Audio presents, but it's on Audible. Like you're saying, it's
Everybody
the
goes
easiest
there.
marketplace.
Well, and that's what Amazon specializes in.
Right.
Making the user experience, making it so easy to make a purchase. Like their user interface is butter, and I can't imagine that for the business to business side of it, it's not just as simple an experience. They do everything they can to make it smooth, and then make their money on the margins. Like that's their entire business model wherever they go. And so, like, are we surprised? Like, that's the thing. No one's shocked that this is going on. They're just shocked the degree to which it's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Brandon's stepping out. Like, it's just so cool that Brandon's deciding to raise the flag, see who salutes.
Yeah.
And
Jordan,
putting himself at financial risk for it.
Jordan, you and I have talked about this. Brandon is an idealist.
Oh, yeah.
But Brandon is an idealist who has the ability and to actually take a step forward and make something happen, and is willing to. He also has. He's not just a dreamer. He's got a scientific mind. He was going to major in
chemistry.
What was it? No, biochemistry.
Biochemistry.
Yeah.
At first, and then he switched to English. He has that overlap that is needed to make something like this happen.
I think
he's willing to take that step, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the even bigger than that though is just the fact that his success has never caused him to rest on his laurels. It's so easy. Well, I mean, that is like the biggest number one complaint about like music and bands is when they were young and hungry, their music was awesome. Then they got rich and fat and lazy, and the music sucks now. And it's just because money changes people. A full dog doesn't hunt, or however the phrase goes. Look, don't focus on that. Move on. But the
a full dog doesn't hunt. That might be our title.
Yeah, but the Brandon, like there's other authors who could have made the same statement somewhere, but they have a lot on their plate. They have other things they're working on, and it's just like, do I want to seriously crusade in the middle of all this other stuff I'm trying to work on, because you've built yourself an empire. And it's not that they're somehow these immoral people. It's just that the inertia of life makes it difficult to do it. Brandon is a man who has never let the inertia of it stop him from doing things. And in fact, his inertia just keeps making him do more and more things. So he builds a team so he can keep doing more things.
And that's something that he's done that other authors just haven't been able to do. I credit a lot of that to Kara as one of his first hires, because she started saying, okay, well, what about this? What about this? And she started doing a lot of stuff and making stuff happen.
Yeah.
I'm not, that's not to take anything away from Brandon, by the way, because Brandon he's found awesome people and has built this team that will allow him to do what he does. And because he has that team, that amazing support, Team Dragonsteel is a phenomenon. It is a very, very unusual phenomenon. And it's so cool to see. Again, if you have the opportunity to go to Dragonsteel to see just what has been put on by this team, this is not something that happens with most authors.
Yeah.
No. And I think that's just the biggest thing is I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see who decides to, follow Brandon's charge and just say, you have my axe type of stuff.
Yeah.
And because that's the thing that's the next phase of this is other authors making Brandon like moves to help improve the ecosystem overall, encourage more competition, and get things to where they're supposed to be. Because I had never heard of Speechify before any of this.
I'd never heard of Speechify.
I didn't know Spotify was going into audiobooks.
Well, that's brand new.
Yeah.
That's pretty recent, I thought, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just this thing where Brandon is using the opportunity of the biggest Kickstarter of all time to even further highlight these things and just be, this beacon saying, come on, guys, let's do this. It's a cause. Like who knew reading books could become a cause?
But yeah, it's a really, really interesting situation. I'm impressed with the way he's handling it, because he has been very, very diplomatic about it.
Yeah.
He is not trying to bring people down. He's trying to build other people up.
Well, and that's the other thing. He's given Audible a very simple path, of redemption. Now, again, big mega corporations are slow beasts, because there's so many people with the ability to say no, very few people who can push a change through. Anyone who's worked for a large company knows that this is the or any bureaucracy, really, this is the case. But he's given them a way out as well. And I hope they take it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Giving them a way out is one of the smartest ways to do it, because you corner an animal, they'll attack.
And this isn't just an animal. This is like the cocaine bear.
He's being very, very much a diplomat in this.
I guess Amy has not seen that trailer.
I haven't either, and let's move on.
Let's move on from the yeah. But no, it's
really good. Cool. Oh man. Well, we should probably move on. We've been going for a while. To our listeners, we love hearing from you. So please send in your questions, comments. What did you think of the state of the Sanderson? What did you think of our discussion? You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your ideas for topics you'd like us to discuss during the show. We've got a lot of stuff coming up this year with 4 new books that we'll probably discuss.
It's going to be so much reading.
We might discuss Defiant eventually, but we haven't gotten to the rest of Skyward yet, so that probably won't happen as that's released. But we're planning to discuss all 4 of the secret books as they come out. We would love your feedback about how you think we're doing. Any interesting theories you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere. There's all sorts of new stuff coming up. Of course, with the Lost Metal, there's all sorts of theorizing and aluminum foil hats to put on. Any questions that you have or suggestions, send those to us in a brief, concise email at cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and hopefully we'll read that as part of the show. You can also write to us at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We do have our own personal projects outside the show. Amy, why don't you lead us off and tell us what you have been up to and where we can find your work?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay, and my TikTok is @coincidencecosplay, all one giant word. My website is www.coincidencecosplay.com, and yes, it is still super sad. But I've been working on my Jawa from Star Wars, and I got Rebel Legion official, so I can actually go trooping. Ooh, dee-dee. Yes.
So
I
when you
am
say
working.
trooping, what is that?
That's when you go out to events. That's
Okay.
what they call it, is trooping.
So you said you're.
So my Jawa was
remind us,
official.
you said, and is that the one that has you in the part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor?
Yes, but then I'm going to join
Okay.
the Empire later. Don't worry. I'm working on my Imperial officer. I'm waiting for them to
So
tell me what is wrong with it.
You're a traitor to both sides. Wow.
Shh,
She's a
double
double
agent. It's fine.
agent.
It's fine. Triple. Who knows? What? It's fine. Otherwise, I'm working on random plushies, and I'm going to actually try and update on all the stuff I did over this year and then never posted about because I was terrible at posting. But yeah, so I'm going to be trying to do that stuff, and since my kids will be back in school, I'm going to actually try and do more of the TikTok stuff I've been meaning to do, like with my School skits that I want to do in my D&D TikTok group, and just random whatevers. So we're going to see where it goes.
Speaking of one of the TikTokers that you worked with on that video that we highlighted a couple weeks ago, that was that Cosmere girl?
That Cosmere chick.
girl or something?
It's that Cosmere chick. Yeah, Melinda, okay. I think her name is.
I'm hurt that she didn't invite us to her party. Did you see she had a great Cosmere themed New Year's party?
So yes, actually she did invite me, but I wasn't able to go because I had a bunch of stuff happening at my house. So I was so sad. I was like, dang it, I really want to go, but I can't. So I will try and make it
by myself.
I'm sorry, Bill. I should have said
little just a party streamer.
No,
I didn't even have a streamer. I just had to make the sound.
No, I'm a terrible co-host. I didn't sit there and be like, could Bill go? Because I'm sure I don't know. Anyway, but I will hopefully next year if they host one again, I will be like, yes, tell me the date more in advance and I'll make it happen.
Next year won't be the year of Sanderson.
I know.
It's all good. We're good. We're fine. We're
Bill,
fine.
Yes, it will. This is the beginning of the 1,000-year reign of Sanderson.
Long may
that'll just be year 2 of the 1,000. Who cares about the second year of a 1,000? The first one matters. The 1,000th year matters.
It's fine.
Let's be real. The 16th will matter.
We're all good. Fair enough. Jordan, where can we find your stuff?
You can find me on YouTube. I'm Splice Stream. I also have Twitter and all that other stuff. I am still looking for more people to sign up for Tales from the Infirmary, which is going to be my XCOM. It's going to be my XCOM series of videos. All you got to do is just put your name on a list. It's in the show notes. It's like, hey, join.
Become a member of Jordan's XCOM squad.
It's just you have a chance for your name to randomly show up and for your character to die horribly.
Did Josh sign up yet or no?
And they will die horribly.
Yeah. Look, XCOM 2 is a game that assumes you lost XCOM 1. That's how hard XCOM is.
Yeah, the canon of the series is that you lost.
Which is just, it's still to this day my favorite sequel hook. But also, no, it doesn't look like Josh has signed up.
Okay, I'll poke him
There's
again.
a lot of people. So the link is in the show notes. If you're here live, I'll also put the link in chat there. Please, it'll take you 3 minutes to sign up. It's real quick. And it's just, there's no other commitment from you. It's literally just your name might show up and you may die horribly. Maybe there's a chance your soldier could show up and do well. That does occasionally happen, but probably die horribly.
Just a reminder, Jordan plays on the very hardest settings where you can't save scum.
On Iron Man mode, so there's no save scumming either. I couldn't save you if I wanted to. There is no undo button. This ain't the Marvel Universe.
As for myself, I have another podcast with my friend Dylan. We talk about board games The show is called The Innkeeper's Table, and we come out with new episodes on Friday mornings. And guys, our hiatus is coming to an end. Our next episode is going to be this Friday. It will likely be a game spotlight on the game Dune Imperium, which is one of my favorite games of the past year or two. Lots of fun. We're still deciding what the topic's going to be, but it'll probably be a spotlight on Dune Imperium.
Is it actually set in the Dune book?
It is.
Okay.
It's based on Dune. The art is illustrations based on the likenesses from the new movie.
Oh, okay.
But it's not photographs from the new movie, which I hate when they do that in games. But it's art that is clearly based on those depictions, and I think it works.
Okay.
But
Josh
it
was
is
watching
illustrated
that today,
rather than
so I was like,
than photographic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great game. Lots of fun. Spoilers, I liked it. For those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you can't become a patron for whatever reason, we would love it if you'd let your friends know about the podcast. Tell them about the show. And don't forget to subscribe. And to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. If you could toss us a good review wherever you listen to us, we would love that. And also head on over to store.streamelements.com/Cosmere Studies to pick up some Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies merch. Final thoughts.
It's gonna be a good year, I hope.
I'm looking forward to the year of Sanderson. It is going to be intense. We have so much reading ahead of us. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that we won't have any shortage of topics to discuss on the show.
Yeah.
No, we will not. But hopefully we'll be able to get some really cool guests to discuss some of those things with us.
Indeed. That's right. We got to catch them all.
And if anybody from Dragonsteel is listening and you'd love to come on the show, let us know. We would love to have you. There's a few of you that I would particularly love to have, and some of you have been on. We'd love to have you back.
Mm-hmm. Just ask the people who've been on. I usually give away plush dice.
That's true.
So, yeah.
I have a potential giveaway in mind, by the way. We'll see. Special thanks to our patron producer, Mim's Laundry Service, keeping your laundry as fresh as this brand new year. In addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies. Are you excited? We're excited, because for our next episode, we will be discussing the first secret novel of the year of Sanderson. Close your ears for a few seconds if you don't want to hear the title, Tress of the Emerald Sea. So join us for the live discussion as we dive into the year of Sanderson on Monday, January 16th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember,
there's always another secret.